And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Fourth and Neat. I'm one of your hosts, Fred Minnick, joined by Pro Football Hall of Famer Jared Allen. What's up, my friend?
What up, buddy? Just another rainy Tuesday down here in Middle Tennessee.
How do the chickens? How did your chickens handle the rain?
Pretty solid. Well, I have to be careful with my silkies. So the silkies, their feathers aren't like normal chickens, so they can actually get wet and absorb moisture versus like repel water. So I have to be careful with them. But I have a pretty solid coop and a very covered run, and then I got certain sides blocked off to allow them make sure they got plenty of dry spaces. So so far so good. Although we had some thunder and lightning, last night it was kind of loud. So. They're on their roost. I'm hoping I'm not out there, but I'm hoping they're not too scared. But other than that, I mean, they're chickens. They're called chickens for a reason, so they're probably scared. You know what I mean?
That's right. We had a flood alert out here, and anytime there's a flooding, I feel like I see some chickens kind of wash up. So I don't think they do very well when it floods.
Yeah, I don't think chickens are predominant swimmers. The question I have when I get to heaven, why did you give chickens wings and they can't fly? I feel like they really got hosed in the whole category. No webbed feet, so they can't swim. And they can they can get off the ground a little bit, but it's more of like it's more like a little running flutter than it is flying. So, a tough life. But you know what? We take great care of our chickens, and I love the eggs they produce for us.
And I tell you what, they are so tasty. We used to buy chicken from a farmer out here, and our dog would just go ravenous anytime. It would be very fresh. I mean, the thing would have been killed, and then like within an hour. So he just that raw carnal aroma for the dog is just out there. So I had it. I slow oven cooked it for a couple hours, pulled it out, and I went upstairs to do something like get a towel or something very quickly. And in that short amount of time, the dog got it. And by the way, it's still hot, right? It's still like hot. The dog inhaled the chicken.
Yep. And probably bones and all.
Everything.
Yeah, it's that primal instinct, right? It's just our little dog will do that. Like she will get into the trash and eat an entire chicken carcass, and you're just like, oh, and somehow this dog lives through it. Like, she's got 37 lives.
It's probably
She's 12. She's 12, and she is just eating anything and everything. She is a scavenger.
I love it.
But yeah, you can't take that out of them, So it's unfortunate. Like we used to have to, when we had kids, we had chickens that were free range as kids and stuff. Same thing. You had to make sure the dog once the dogs get a taste of it, it's full tilt. So you gotta do a good job keep them separated, all that. And then the biggest threat is predators at night. So I have a cinder block foundation dug down underneath my run, couple feet, multiple layers there. I got predator wire that expands out. I got about 9-10 yards of crush and run, then sand on top of that, 1/4-inch wire mesh. All the key is too, a lot of people just staple it from the inside, and so the predators can push on it and knock it out. So we take you take it like a cord, it's like it's 1-inch washer with like an 1/8-inch hole right about that thick, and you drill, you screw those all along the perimeter. You have your wire on the exterior side so they can't push through. So ours is like Fort Knox over here. Taking care of these things, but yeah, I
love it.
My kids love chicken. We eat chicken all the time. Unfortunately, ours are like pets, so I would have to have chickens at my other place or some other place that I could have. Like my grandma used to say, you got layers and fryers. That's what you got. And I wouldn't mind having a few fryers, sitting around here. I should say, cooked in olive oil or baked in the oveners.
I love that. We raised pigs, sheep. I had horses. I had every animal: chickens, ducks, geese. Had everything but cattle. And my mom would never let us eat the sheep. Never.
You know what? And see, I got lucky in that regard. Like we had my grandfather had cattle and horses and chickens. He butchered his own cattle. My dad was just a horse trainer, so we had horses and obviously a dog. We had and chickens and stuff like that. But we had some friends with goats and stuff like that. So I'd had goat before goat was good. But luckily for me, like there were certain things that my dad and my grandfather didn't like to eat. Right? Like they weren't big on liver. They weren't big on, obviously like haggis, the old Scottish, but that's more like a sheep's intestine. So I never had to eat any of that funky stuff growing up. So that was nice. Where did you grow up on a farm at?
Well, I didn't. So,
well, not really a farmer.
It was kind of, yeah. I was kind of I did have. I guess we did have a farm, 20, 30 acres. As a family.
Not too bad.
So, but I always think of farm as like pastures of corn and what have you. Livestock. We would have earned the title as livestock farmers.
So that's the difference between ranching and farming. I always say the same thing. But people down here, they generally use farm for anything. Animals, where I grew up out west, that's a ranch. If you were in animals, you had a ranch. If you were growing crops, you had a farm. There's a distinct difference too between farmers and ranchers.
There's also a distinction between cowboys and ranchers, and I've got some breaking news.
100%
for the Cowboy Nation, my Oklahoma State Cowboys. We have fired the legendary, iconic coach, Mike Gundy.
No, you didn't.
Mike Gundy has been fired after 21 seasons.
Oh, I mean, come on. Did he cut his hair? Why? I mean,
yeah,
he can't fire a dude with that. I mean, unless he cut his hair, then that's a fireball offense. But I mean, wow, we're blending segments today, buddy. Like I feel like the dauber just dropped a little bit here. We hadn't even gotten into the fun stuff.
No,
now I'm thinking here, on my show prep, I can't wait to talk about the mulleted man himself.
Mike Gundy, the great
rest
mullet.
In peace.
Yeah,
rest in peace to that mullet in Oklahoma. Or are they gonna replace him with some pretty boy who wants to win football games? Oh,
it's rough, and I've got. I mean, this is how tied I am with Oklahoma State. They gave me a signed Mike Gundy helmet. We did. Oh man, this just stinks. But Mike and I did a fundraiser for. I don't know if it was the NIL. I don't know what it was for. It was for something
for money for people.
Money for
people
program. Yeah. But we did one of my blind bourbon events. Ooh. And when I met him, he was just like there was like a halo around his hair, and he's like he had like all the product in there. Like you're an all natural mullet, right?
I am. I am. I don't do a lot. Every once in a while, I still think I had the same can of. Like hair glue, they call it these days, but it's like 10 years old. So I don't know what they call it these days. It's the same stuff that I just I smack my hands together. I do some of this and I'm like, all right, it looks good. But yeah, I mean, he's had that thing. I mean, so 21 years, my goodness, he was there in the early 2000s. He was rocking it before it was even, it's just been a haircut to him. It's just been a lifestyle.
And he did trim it. I mean, I wouldn't say that it's
we need to see. This is where I need to pull up a recent picture.
Yeah, so go to Twitter. You'll see some recent photos of him. It looks like he's put more emphasis on the top than the back of late. But when even when we were kind of hanging out a couple years ago, and when I first met him, 4 or 5 years ago. He was beginning to taper it off a little bit. I think he was.
Well, that's probably that. Oh yeah, dude. Come on, coach. No wonder you guys aren't winning anymore. Oh, I mean, this is about as clean cut as you get.
Yeah.
I mean, the dude's got an amazing salad. Don't get me wrong. Like I wish I was his age and had the thickness and the lushness of his hair, but. I mean, you got to dance with the girl that got you there. I mean, you've been rocking this hairstyle for so long. I mean, you need to go back to this. I mean, and that's you can see the waves back there. You can see it. That's the classic. That's more of like the long hair.
You think Mike Gundy
look at this one. This is when he was in his prime. That's when you guys were winning.
That's 2011 right there. Fiesta Bowl champions.
See?
Yeah.
His hair was on point and you guys were Fiesta Bowl champions. I'm just saying there is a direct correlation to cutting your hair and the decline of the program. I mean, it's biblical. It is biblical.
Samson. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying he's Samson, but I'm not saying he's not Samson. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It is kind of sad for us because, we kind of knew it was going to be coming. They went 3-8 last year, and they hadn't scored they've scored one touchdown against an FBS school all year. And
so I have to admit, I have not kept up with Oklahoma State Cowboys football, but you have something in common. One of my favorite players, great friend, Kevin Williams.
Oh yeah. Great nose tackle.
Oh, fantastic 3 technique, and gonna crush it. One day we're gonna get him in the Hall of Fame one day too. He's gonna get there sooner than later.
He's Hall of Fame worthy.
What years were you at Oklahoma State?
I graduated in 2001.
Oh, so you were there with Kevin.
Yeah.
He would have been, I believe he was 03 draft. Mm-hmm. So he would have been there in that same time. You're a little bit older than him. Okay. All right.
Yeah, he was
Hence your love for wrestling, right? I mean, you can't be an Oklahoma State Cowboy and not love wrestling.
Not at all. It's like we've won 34 national championships in wrestling.
Oh yeah.
So,
well, I tell you what, if this was a little later in the day and we were drinking bourbon, I'd pour one out. But since it's coffee, we'll just say, you know what? Cheers, Coach Gundy. What a great run. Great hair. Bring the hair back, my friend. Bring the hair back.
What's it like to be on a team, when a coach gets fired mid-season?
Man, it's tough, right? So you go through this, you'll have an immediate jump because there'll be an emotional high, not because I'm sure everybody around there likes Mike, but sometimes you'll have a coach that no one likes, right? And you're excited to get him out of the building. But sometimes you're excited just for the change, but you're going to have a new energy because the new coach is going to come in. Hey guys, blah, blah, blah. Usually it's someone on the staff. It's an interim guy. So there's you'll see a win or two, right out the gates, right? Because there's this emotional high where, and I think it's not necessarily there people are excited about that person leaving. It's a fear that you're next, right? You know what I mean? Oh crap. You take, Mike Gundy, who's been there 21 years.
Yeah.
I mean, if he can go, anybody can go, right? So I think you'll see an uptick. But for me, it's one of those things where when a coach gets fired mid-season, things are bad. Culture is usually bad. Clearly trying to grasp at any straw to find a winning method, just something to change. You got to, sometimes you have to make a dramatic shift just so you can wake people up and get some productivity out of the guys. So, but it's never, I've been on it, goodness, once. So yeah, Childress, just when Brad got fired, I was after week 3 or 4. And that was rough. We were locker room divided. You know what I mean? That was the old, Brett saga and stuff like that. I think it was 2010 it happened. But, and then we had Leslie Frazier, who obviously everybody on the team really respected, but still great friends with Brad today. But you have those moments where, you have locker rooms divided. And when that happens, I mean, your team's already in a bad spot, right? So unfortunately, the head guy, he gets all the glory and he gets all the crap when it runs to him. So you get fired when things aren't going wrong. I'm pretty sure it's not Coach Gundy's fault. It's probably been a lapse in recruiting. I'm sure there's just players not living up to the talent of which they need to live up to and all that good stuff. So, but it is tough, and it's tough then to refocus because you kind of look at it as a player. You kind of know the season's lost. Right. And like I said, you're grasping for straws by thinking, okay, maybe if we change the top, the reality is the players are still the players and the assistant coaches are still the assistant coaches, unless that new coach is going to come in and implement a completely different system and scheme. Then, you're really just trying to put a Band-Aid on a bullet hole until you can, stitch it up at the end of the season.
Well, I think it's something that we're seeing across college sports. These old school coaches who did not grow up in the transfer portal or NIL era. You look at what Nick Saban did. He retired before it could really catch him. But Mike Gundy is out now. I mean, who's next? I mean, Dabo Swinney is going to be right there.
Say, they're 0-3, right? 0-3, 0-4.
1-2, something like that.
1-2, or yeah. I thought they were 1-3 or something.
They may have 3 losses, but they have not looked good.
I mean, I think Dabo's won a national championship, and they went on in recent history. They were a pretty solid team, so maybe he gets a little grace. But I think you're right. I think you you really have to adapt in this era, right? And I think, some of these old school coaches, you look like a Bill Belichick. Bill's not going to be personable. Bill's not going to be the guy out there winning over, the hearts and minds of moms and dads out there,
His girlfriend might, though.
What?
His girlfriend might, though. She might be.
She's out there TikTok dancing just like. You got to, you got to hire that out, to be honest with you. You got to bring somebody in. I think in today's day and age, you need a recruiting coordinator and team that is going to be on social, nonstop with you. That's where these kids live. You got to meet these kids where they're at. And it's unfortunate for sports. It really is, because I remember when I played, I wanted to play for the best coach that was going to get me to my end goal, right? If the NFL was my end goal, or I wanted to play for a culture or a team that I'd loved for so long. And you played for a reason. You played for that team. You played for a coach. Coach Vermeil is a case in point of it. Even in the league where your money's involved, he had this way of working you to the brink of breaking. Like, people think, oh, Coach Vermeil was the nicest guy on the face here, always welling up. That dude demands some work out of you, right? And he'd put you to that point, but then he knew when to tell you he loved you, right? He knew when to give you a hug. He knew when to say, all right, you guys got 48 hours up. I don't want to see you. You know what I mean? And so he really knew how to treat you as a man, but that made you want to play even more for him, because as athletes, you want to believe in something, right? You want to be playing for something. And I think some of that's lost now. And so now these new rules, the way the kids are, you got to meet them where they're at, and you got to find ways to bring them to you, and then get them to buy into that culture, get them to buy into the idea of the next level of winning national championships, right? There's got to be more than just trying to have a good year so you can get back in the transfer portal and make some more money. So I think the NCAA's got to really get their arms around this and create some structure before you see a complete just plummet of college football and just in youth sports in general, to be honest with you, right? It always trickles down. And so, unfortunate, but it's just not the same. So, if I was me, I'd hire it out, right? I'd have a team of 20 somethings meeting these kids at whatever they got to do. And then I'd be the first one to lock them into long-term contracts. But that's fine. You can sign, but you're here for a minimum of 3 years, right? I'd put anti-transfer clause. Like, they need a no trade clause. They just need to, that's what happens. These GMs at these colleges need to start, doing these contracts a little better and get these kids locked in so we can see the evolutions of team success over the years.
Well, it's scary because the landscape is changing, but it's not nearly as scary as our next topic.
Ooh, where are we going? Because we're all off the sheet right now.
I know. We
are all off the sheet.
We had some breaking news. I had to share it.
We went breaking news to our mullet segment. Like, we were just, hey, we're keeping everybody guessing today. So where are we going with this?
Flesh-eating screwworms.
Ooh,
have you heard about these?
We're going right into that. Yep. I guess it's going to be our new medical segment.
So this is a parasitic fly whose larvae infest and living warm-blooded animals, including livestock, wildlife, and occasionally humans. Basically, the female screwworm will lay up to 200 to 400 eggs in open wounds, cuts, natural body openings like your eyes, your mouth, and nostrils. And it's happening in places like Florida, where you can actually this can be fatal if it's not treated. It will bury where the skin folds or there are moist areas, including.
Why is it the worst? Why are the worst words ever? Moist, so bad. Just skin folds and moist areas produce screwworms. That's what I'm getting, or attract screwworms. You could, So of course, Florida's perfect for it. It's like the hottest place. It's the hottest, moistest place ever.
But this is something that just tack this onto the strange parasites and diseases that are out there. It's just another one to worry about.
Yeah, well, actually, it's big in cattle, right? So the right now the U.S.-Mexico border is closed to cattle imports from Mexico, and so that's actually a big deal. We eradicated it here. Goodness, that's why we got Google. We have we've had a problem with screwworms before, and we have eradicated them in, U.S. Cattle. I believe it was down in Texas where we had an uptick, and now we have the U.S. border right now is closed. Well, yeah, it's still, what does it say? Yeah. Yep, it is still closed to cattle imports due to the threat of the new world screwworm. And yeah, basically, like you said, it burrows in, it lays a bunch of eggs. It's nasty, it's gross, potentially fatal. But I mean, clearly if it's fatal, to animals, it's going to be fatal to humans.
Yeah, so. And I think one of the big differences with this one is that most of the screwworms that are out there, it's usually trying to go into dead tissue.
This is live tissue. This
stuff wants you alive, and it wants to consume you. So I mean, and frankly, it's straight out of the movie Alien. It's a parasite that wants to get all up in you and drop some eggs. It's pretty scary.
So how is it spreading though? Is it you have to be within contact, right?
Yeah, that's right. Like it's gotta fly in you. It's got to get to like some kind of opening, and it's got to lay the eggs in there. So it's not like it's not getting to your flesh, like your arm and burying in there.
Oh yeah. So that's the problem though when they hatch. I mean, it's not contagious person to person, according to the AI overview on Google, right? And but yeah, you're right. It occurs when adult screwworm flies. So why do they call them? They're flies. Why do they call them screwworms? I guess because the larvae are worms, right?
Yeah, they turn into flies.
Like open wounds and new flies emerge from the hatched larvae, which then feed on the living tissue. However, the flies can transmit infestations by spreading in the environment. So as the flies spread, then obviously more and more issues with this. So precautions like keeping wounds covered, that's good. Mm-hmm. And contacting your health provider immediately for any suspected maggots are crucial to prevent further spread. Now, could you imagine if you had a cut on your hand, you look down and a maggot started crawling out of you?
Well, I mean, that's just Tuesday. That's just Tuesday in the Minnick household. But this is what they're saying.
Got another maggot in my wound.
If you've got a wound and you begin to have a foul odor or oozy fluid starts popping out, got to go to the doctor. All right.
I got so many questions. Like, why does the screwworm fly exist? What is the overall benefit for them being around? I don't get it.
They're probably
another question I have when I get to heaven. I'm going to ask about the screwworm. These are just questions for God right here. That's my new segment. It's going to be questions I have for God. And they're going to be brought up by you introducing me to. I see. I only knew about half of this story. I'd been following it from the livestock standpoint, right? Because as team roping and stuff like that, it's hard even to get a lot of the roping steers, come up from Mexico. And so, cattle are hard to get and especially roping steers prices are sky high right now. So it's like, if you have them, you keep them. So I knew the screwworm was a problem down in Mexico, down in South America, as far as in the cattle. I didn't realize it was actually something that transmitted over into humans. It's just any open wound, any flesh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's coming for you. I think. Why do they exist? I mean, they're probably a meal for some type of specialized frog that's on the verge of going extinct or something. That's probably why they're coming
for
around.
Sure. But, yeah, that or just who knows. Who knows? I was gonna say, I get why you need, insects and flies and stuff like that are going to eat decaying stuff, because you got to break down the process. You got to get the tissues broken down, right?
I wonder how they. I realize that they're going into open wounds, but I wonder if they can detect, like, all right, this guy's about to die anyway, so why don't I just get a little taste of him before?
You're saying if you're like it's a compromised people.
Yeah, I mean, the way everything that is being described here, these are not people who the people aren't getting these screwworms. Are someone who is taking care of themselves. And that's not what I'm saying.
Well, most normal. I'm just going to use normal in a very broad range here, right? Most normal people aren't walking around with open wounds, right? And like, how big of an open wound does it take? Do we have that? Do we have any information about the size of the wound that attracts them?
No,
like,
I mean, if it's
you talking about like a little scrape, because well, that sucks. That's like every construction worker out there, you know, everybody out there working with their hands. Or are we talking about like, you know, straight up open wounds, you know, like bath salt style? You have people flesh rotting off of them.
Well, they did say belly button. They like the belly button and they like the butthole. So,
but who has open wounds? You're talking about like bed sores. Like,
well, you know, that's you know, they're just these screwworms are just going to wherever there's an opening. If it's a wound,
but you can't just, if they lay it on your skin,
you're good.
If they lay on your skin, they're not going to burrow in. It has to be inside of a wound.
Yeah, there's a barrier from the skin. So
who's got open wounds in their belly buttons?
No, that's the openness. Like they can get access.
Yeah, but my belly button's closed. Like even inside my belly button is skin.
Well, I got an innie. So
do I. That's my point.
Well,
like,
there's still a path.
It's not like an open wound.
Yeah, but they can get in there, and they're just like they're like putting up a tent, and then they
just
start
hang out until you have a wound.
And then the flesh, they start eating the flesh, and boom, you know, before you know it, you've got a belly full of screwworms.
Now I look. Here we go again. Now I have to go pull up Google. Just so everybody knows, I'm Googling stuff on my phone. It's real time here. Okay, now I have to Google, can screwworms eat through your skin?
Let's do it.
Oh, while there is no known... Okay, the name screwworm refers to the feeding behavior of the larvae, or the maggots, as they burrow or screw into healthy tissue. Damage by tearing into the host tissue with sharp mouth hooks. The wound can become larger and deeper as more larvae hatch and feed on living tissue. Oh, wait, what? It can get, you can get worms under your skin from parasite. Okay, no, hold on. I see here, now we're getting mixed results. Does it have to be an open wound, or can they just lay on you and burrow into your skin?
I think the big difference between an open wound and them just coming up, and they have better access on an open wound. If they're on your skin, there's just the general walking abrasions from the wind. You might feel a niche and flick it. Whereas if they're in an open wound, they're right there. The belly button, like say if you got the fat rolls over and they scoops in under a fat roll, you know?
Dude, they can create their own wound. They can create their own new wound. So yes, they can lay on you so they can get into your belly button, set up camp, and then create the wound by slowly scratching. Oh.
Yeah, this is a topic for another time, but that's how cockroaches create ear infections. They get up in your ear.
What? Hold up. You can't just throw things out here. You can't just.
I had a friend who was a paramedic, and like half of the reasons they would get called out to a certain neighborhood is because cockroaches would crawl into people's ears, and they'd have to try and pull them out. So I just think in general, these like really nasty creatures are trying to crawl up in you or on you. So.
Oh yeah, this is gross. Yeah, like you said. So it says more like newborn navel areas. So like for newborn calves, they can attack the navel area. I don't think it's as prominent in humans. Let's just end this segment by saying how. Are you
like nervous about your belly button, Jared?
I'm just like grossed out. Like, dude, I spend a lot of time outside. I spend a lot of time working, outside. So last thing I need is a fly to lay some eggs on me that I don't know about. And these things burrow into my freaking flesh. Like I'm good. Like, no, I'm good. Like I already had to deal with ticks. Like I'm already very super conscious about ticks and all that stuff. Yeah. So, you take a screwworm on top of it. Like that's just nasty. All right. My last thing is, how common are screwworms in humans? All right. Wait for it. Screwworms are uncommon in humans in the United States, as the parasite was eradicated there in the 1960s, but is currently being reintroduced from Central America and the Caribbean. Travelers with open wounds or those who spend time outdoors around livestock are at the highest risk. Symptoms include non-healing sores with a foul odor or the presence of maggots, while the risk of human infection is low. I like how they state this emphatically, like it's not that big, like the presence of maggots. Like, if there's a foul odor in the presence of maggots, I'm assuming I'm dying. I'm dead. I'm no joke. I'm making sure my will's in order. I'm calling my wife and I'm like, I love you. Tell the kids I'm not making it home today. Like,
well, you are at high risk because you're around livestock all the time.
Oh, symptoms include non-healing sores. While the risk of human infection is low, it is important to seek immediate medical attention if you suspect that you have been exposed or have developing symptoms, especially after traveling to affected areas. So right now it's about a traveling trip, and you're saying this is prevalent in Florida right now. It
is. There have been cases in Florida, yes,
because they're so close to the Caribbean.
Yeah.
There you go. Oh, wow. I'm a big, anytime I go to Florida, and Florida's off my list for a few years now. Got to be. I mean, flesh-eating bacteria, we already went through that. Those rates are up. And anytime I've been down there for spring break, I make sure I cover. I mean, my kids are like covered with waterproof bandages before they get in.
So they also have the brain amoebas.
Yeah, you got. I mean, we already don't even. We have already been down that road too. We don't go into any fresh water that is sustained 77 degrees or higher for longer than a couple weeks. We don't go in.
See, I would be afraid of a crocodile or an alligator eating me.
I don't go in lakes in the South for a lot of reasons, right? Yeah. I am. If I can't see my toes in the water, I'm not. I'm a bougie water person. I'm a bougie lake person.
You're Lake Tahoe.
That's right. I mean, listen, I'm spoiled, right? Yeah. But that's just me. And there's a few things that, again, are pretty safe to say I'm not going to get a brain-eating amoeba, flesh-eating bacteria. And now with screwworms on the loose in Florida, I think Florida is just off the map for a little bit. I'm good. I'm good.
All right, so we're going to switch gears here to kind of like something that we're going to be getting into a lot here just because we're both pretty weird and we're fascinated with these conspiracy theories. We've got a running list of them that we're going to be getting into over the next few episodes. But we're going to start with the Simpsons being time travelers.
Yeah, this is our conspiracy corner, right? Mm-hmm. This is our conspiracy corner. I'm not gonna lie. I'm intrigued by a lot of this. Later in life, I used to be hardcore against conspiracy theories. Hardcore.
Yeah, I think we kind of all were very dismissive, but then 5 years after a conspiracy would come out, turns out it was true, and that's what started changing me.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, okay. It's one of those hide in plain sight type of deal, right?
Yeah, and the way everyone calls out something as like a conspiracy theory, and they're like so adamantly against them. My ears are a little bit more open now.
100%. Let's put it this way: I'm not fully bought in all the time, but I'm definitely willing to listen. Mm-hmm. And then just for the fun of it, I am down to go down that rabbit hole and play both sides of it. To be honest with you,
absolutely,
I'll play both sides of it. So let's get into the Simpsons, which this was. Thank you for bringing this to my attention. I never knew this existed.
Yeah. So basically,
this is borderline scary.
Yeah. So this stems over 35 years of the Simpsons. They've had basically a satirical take on culture, politics, and technology, and over the years that they've made a lot of predictions that have come true. One of those is Donald Trump becoming president. That came out in season 11. They had a show that depicted Lisa as president cleaning up the financial mess left by the Trump administration. So that was basically 16 years prior to it happening. They predicted smartwatches in 1995. They predicted video calls and FaceTime in 95. They basically, talked about. I
don't get it said they predicted the autocorrect fails.
That one, yeah.
What I don't know. What are autocorrect fails? I don't even know what those are.
If you are trying to type something on your iPhone and you get like the wrong word.
Oh, and autocorrects it for you. That's called an autocorrect fail.
Yeah, and there's some kind of like mistake on it.
So it's very simple. I was like, is this some sort of new thing? And that one's not that big.
So they
predict Siegfried and Roy tiger attack.
So they predicted that in 93, came true in 2003. NSA spying scandals, the Ebola outbreak, Disney's acquisition of
Fox. That one's crazy.
20th Century Fox.
Yep.
I mean,
that one was nuts.
And
not to mention, I think they said there's like 35 in total.
Yes. And this is the biggest one for me. Cypress Hill and the London Symphony Orchestra playing together, and that came true. They predicted that in 1996. That came true in 2024.
24. I mean, see, I wonder if there's a correlation to like time spans they go back. But then that brings us to the Montauk Project. I mean, these things coincide. I mean, now you have two conspiracy theories of time travel.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm just saying, like, once or twice, you're like, okay, this is satire, it's comedy. They're just saying, oh, what this could potentially happen. But 35 cases, like once a year, it seems like once a year they hit something right on the nose, and you're like, okay, there you go. You're hiding in plain sight here. You're throwing it out there because you know what's happened. And then how about the re-election of Trump in 2024? They had the episode, saying Trump 2024, where if they predicted his presidency in 16, then you probably would have assumed it would have been 2020, right, with a re-election. But they knew about the gap year. I'm telling you, there's something shifty going on. I don't know if it's time travel, but there's definitely some futuristic stuff going on right now.
So there was also someone that swore up and down that the founder and some of the writers were tied into the CIA, and Snopes debunked it. Of course, going back to the whole purpose of a conspiracy theory, they get debunked like all the time, right? But
I mean, at some point, you can't believe in coincidences.
Yeah.
I mean, you can debunk everything. I mean, guess what? A lot of things get debunked that are true because they don't want them to actually be true. So, you know what I mean? There's something to this. I'm not going to go down the road of time travel, but what I am saying is there's some weird stuff going on, and the Simpsons writers have a bigger background that needs to be checked into, and we got to figure out how they know all this stuff. And then, can they please hit me with some good stock market tips?
Yeah.
Or I'll just go back to following Nancy Pelosi and investing like she does.
By the way, we've got the great Hannah Dasher joining us here. She's been on the Fred Minnick show before, and country music star, and all around. I don't know if you call yourself an influencer anymore, but all around
I'm an
entertainer. Hannah Dasher. She was just doing some Hank Williams Jr. birthday songs here recently, or something like that.
Well, that's tonight. The Hank Senior B-Day Bash. That's tonight, but yeah, running the roads and torn between a fender and a frying pan, basically.
Now. We were just knee deep in a conspiracy theory. Wanted to get your opinion on this.
We got to back it up. One thing we pride ourselves on with our guests is we like to talk as little about what you are known for. Because I'm a firm believer that, and this is a true story. Like, it drives me nuts when like an athlete or something passes away and all they do is talk about their sporting career, right? And they don't ever talk about them as a person, as a life. So we like to get to know people.
Yeah,
we like to get outside the world of music. Like, let's get weird. Let's talk about some conspiracy theories. Let's talk about some hobbies. Let's talk about whatever, So you came in right on the end of talking about how the Simpsons predict the future, and basically back that up with the Montauk Project that the U.S. government did some deep dives into time travel exploration. Like, where do you stand on it? Where we are we time travelers?
I think no, I'm not a time traveler, but I do believe that people like to feed their ego, and then a big way to do that, the powers that be, the movers and shakers, if you will, and that's not always a positive thing. Pretty much already know what's going to happen, or the plans are set into place, and so I think just to inflate their own ego, they will reveal some of these truths to you in their TED Talks or in their press conferences, so that or in some cases in their adult animations.
That's it. We didn't even go down that road. What if this is all pre-planned?
Yeah.
What if the powers that be, right? We're just puppets. They've already planned it out 5, 6 years in advance.
Seriously when they speak, I think that gives them more power in a twisted way. You know what I mean? Like if I was a devil, that's how I'd try to win anyway.
Who was it? Stephen. What's Stephen? I'm going blank on his Stephen Wilson Jr. Right?
Love him. Yeah.
He's got a song that says, "The devil you know and the devil you don't, but they're still both the devil."
Amen to that.
So I think at the end of the day, and yeah, I see. I'm with you. I tend to relate that futuristic like stuff like that to being not necessarily God-given. There's prophecy. I'll give that. I do believe that there's still probably people around the world that can prophesy a little bit, but predicting the future, time travel, psychic. I'm a little bit more on the that comes from the evil side. But
I'm with you on that.
I'm down the rabbit hole that we're puppets and that.
Well, unless the Bible's pretty prophetic, and I don't believe the Bible is evil, but unless you can back it up with scripture, or unless it's delivered in a way that doesn't bring glory to the person that's delivering it, you know what I mean?
I get you there. Yeah,
I think there's some truth to lean into there. Otherwise, I'm with you. I think it's a demonic thing for sure.
Yeah.
So there was a priest who was talking about aliens, and he brought up this whole. He described like how most people interviewed after they claimed they were abducted by aliens. He said their descriptions were really descriptions of demons.
Yes.
And that moment with that interview with that priest, and I wish I could find, I wish I could remember who interviewed him and the priest's name, but he started talking about there's demons in the room you're in right now. There's demons over here. That has stuck with me. And ever since then, I don't believe in aliens. Ever since I saw that, I don't believe in aliens like maybe I once feared. But like there is absolutely a good versus evil constantly at us right now.
Ephesians 6:12.
We're feeling it. We're feeling it right now. But I don't think, Jared, until Hannah said that, I ever connected that to the Simpsons. And now I'm like way freaked out.
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Like you can see, this is what's great about this. Like we can go down right, and just so everybody knows, listening.
What is the goal of? Have y'all read Communist Manifesto? Karl Marx. You familiar with his teachings? And things like that?
Absolutely,
loosely familiar with it. And there's actually.
So what's his goal? What his goal is to, I believe, to take God out of everything. I think he actually dedicates his book to Lucifer, and it might be a joke, but. You're halfway kidding if you're doing that, which means you're halfway being honest about it. But the goal is to remove God from society, to secularize schools, to secularize culture so that they become dependent on the government and not on their higher power. Yep. Right? And so I think if you really look at things like that, you begin to discern the good and evil that we're talking about. And I think it kind of makes things more black and white. So have you guys heard of Chad O. Jackson? Larry Elder, Ben Carson.
I know Larry Elder. Yeah, I know Larry Elder.
So Chad O. Jackson and some of the aforementioned gentlemen, they're behind. There's this new docuseries, and it is fascinating. It's called Uncle Tom and Uncle Tom 2. And it reveals some of the, and I'm a journalism major, so I'll stop and I'll fact check to my best ability, humbly. And it is the most fact-driven, faith-based, just directly, brutally honest piece of work or research that I have seen. It's so fascinating, but it's called Uncle Tom and Uncle Tom 2. And it is, there's a movement that's going on, a shift that's shedding light on a lot of this stuff. And it's fascinating.
Well, there's also, there's a guy out there, what is it, Jack? I'm going to totally mispronounce his last name. Jack, what is it, Posselbeck or something like that? He was on a Tucker Carlson podcast. It was like one of the first podcasts I ever listened to years ago, right? And he has a book. I'm trying to pull up the book's name real quick.
Is he the bald guy?
But it's
I need to write this down.
It's a very intriguing podcast. But he basically talks about communism, like you were saying. But that there's been things in place for many, hundreds of years before.
Yes.
Well, a line from what he said, when he was writing his books and he's learning about communism, learning about the different systems, right? There's a saying that says the system is what the system does. So his whole explanation between that is that, through the history of the world of communism, is that it says on paper that it's basically everybody's going to be equal. It's going to be this euphoric society.
It looks good on paper, but does it really ever play out well? Over the course of the lifespan of communism has killed hundreds of millions of Christians, hundreds of millions of people, 100 million of this. So he said the system is what the system does. So communism is meant to destroy. Right. And before this episode's over, I'll pull up the name of the book. But it's interesting that you say that, because that's, you look through the history of the world and you always have these very influential people that constantly want to, keep people down and make them reliant on them. Right. And to me, true freedom or true love for somebody is you want someone to succeed in spite of you. Right. You need to succeed without being dependent upon me. Yes. What's that quote, you guys? There's some awesome quote, and I don't know who said, was it Jefferson? But basically, a divided nation is a weak nation that cannot overthrow a government.
Yep.
Obviously, the opposite is true, because we did it in the 1700s, right? Because we were strong and united. And so I think if I wanted to maintain power, I would cause race wars, and I would cause things that would keep the people divided and at each other's throats, so that I could maintain control. Yeah,
there was, divide and conquer is the phrase is not meaning that we take two tasks and complete the mission. It is to divide a group of people so they're more
divide and conquer.
They're more easily to conquer. And honestly, too, a lot of the stuff that's going on here, I spent some time with psyops in the military, and there's just so many things that to me just feels like someone is out there like pressing the button, and like these are all things that the KGB tried to do like in the 60s and 70s during the Cold War. They just didn't have the capability. And I'm not by any means saying that what's happening today is from the KGB. I think there's numerous nations that want to take down the United States of America. And it's so easy to do so when you have access to social media and the internet. You can inflame a group of people over something as benign as pizza.
Well, and the name of that book is Unhumans. I have not read it, just for full disclosure, and I'm not advocating for one side or the other. But I just thought that quote on there was really good. A system is what a system does, right? And I think you talked about social media, right? Look at social media. It's arguably one of the greatest marketing tools ever made. But people are inherently evil at most time, and so social media becomes this downfall, right? You give, so the system is what the system does. And if the system causes more harm than good, is it actually good? You look at the depression rates amongst teenagers, you look at just all the inability to connect, right? The inability to have conversations with different viewpoints. Yeah. I think, these algorithms feed people their own, everybody wants to be right. So it feeds you your own thought process. And now you got all these reasons why you're right, but you don't ever listen to why someone else is right. So now the other person has all these reasons why they're right. And we've just become this narcissistic society that only cares about my viewpoint, and that's it. And I'm like, where's the days of like Walter Cronkite saying, just read me the news and let me go have discerning conversations with my friends and figure out, where we stand on an issue. But
when I was in journalism school at the University of Georgia, go Dogs. The first day of class, consistently across the board, our professors told us, they're like, don't just watch Fox, don't just watch CNN, please make sure. And we were graded upon whether or not we injected our opinions, and if we did, obviously that it killed our grade. Yeah. And I just hate to see how much it's changed, and how many friends of mine that have left CNN for being forced to report a certain way. And it doesn't just happen there; it happens all at all. Mm-hmm. I feel like it's all become really corrupt on both sides of the spectrum. But I think like Fred, as public figures, I think we have a really precious opportunity to use our platforms to unite people, to plant seeds of truth, and maybe to pose questions that prompt folks to think for themselves.
Absolutely. Right. I think that's the best part about America, right? Literally the freedom of thought, right? And the freedom to be able to have open conversations and open dialogue. And I think that's where we go down is when
those that still can. I don't think they don't teach critical thinking anymore.
That is a true stat. I was just talking to somebody recently about the education system. And I'm like, I swear our education system's antiquated, still back into like the 40s and 50s, where I'm like, today I feel like we could revamp the education system and have very direct, I don't even know where it goes, but it doesn't need to be the same way it was back in the day. It drives me nuts.
Well, they also make it difficult to, like a teacher is forced to use certain apps to connect with parents to have the homework go out. There's like 4 or 5 apps that I have to be on to track my kids. And it's just like, why can't they just give them an assignment, they bring it home and they do it? It doesn't work that way. And it's not the teacher's fault.
You got my kid for 6 hours. What do they need to do homework for?
Yeah.
Did you not teach them enough while they were already at school? You see what I'm saying? Like we lose real life, application. We lose real life everything, and then everything goes to a device. And we have this, a great book for any parent to read. Anybody is The Anxious Generation, right? And it gives
what's it called?
It's called The Anxious Generation, and it gives hardcore stats about just how it compares between play-based childhoods to when we shifted to phone-based childhoods, and even policy around it. How you're basically, in the late 90s, there was this shift to bring kids inside because we were all afraid of the predators outside. And then we gave kids devices that have open access to anybody can have open, to them. So, but it goes through all the different, where they can track where mental illness, not necessarily mental illness, but, anxiety disorders, spike, right? You got depression in young girls, you got in young boys through the video game, all this connectivity that everybody have. And, everybody just instead of being outside, playing in your neighborhood, taking risks and learning how to balance those risks and just talking about how play-based creates, builds these foundational characteristics that you need to navigate life, right? You got to know how to navigate person to person. How does a younger kid react to an older kid, vice versa, empathy. And now we have this,
creative skills.
Yeah, exactly. And you got this, this society that doesn't see emotional responses because they spend 90% of their time on a phone. And so you create these really sociopathic behaviors because there's no empathy, right? I call it the getting punched in the nose syndrome, Fred. When kids stop getting punched in the nose for saying something dumb, people run their mouths too much now. When I was growing up, you said something someone didn't like and they hit you in the face. You're like, okay, that's the line right there. That's the line. Okay. I learned the line.
So,
don't cross it.
Because we are so guided by this in society, is society doomed?
Well, you look at the creators of AI. They're already saying that AI is going to be the downfall of society in less than a decade because it's outpacing them. It's outpacing us. So, I sure hope not. I got young kids. But I mean, definitely we need a reset on values. We need a reset on how we approach.
Amen.
On how we approach.
You can make a God out of anything. You know what I mean? I mean, like you are who or what you serve. And so I just think we just have to make sure our priorities are aligned with whatever our faith system is, and that, that comes first and family next. And I don't know. I'm not a parent, so I can't speak for how to parent a child. I have so much respect, and then a lack of respect as well for folks today that have kids, because I feel like it's a bunch of babies raising babies. And anyway, but there are some that I know who have very limited phone and device time with their kids because they want their kids to be able to conduct a conversation. I was hanging out with a 15-year-old the other day who was absolutely terrified of the fact of calling a restaurant to ask for, to hold a table for us after church reservations. And she's like, I've got to talk to somebody on the phone. She's 15 years old. Anyway, and she's a stepchild of a friend, so my girlfriend didn't raise her. Anyway, but like 15 years old, terrified to just talk to somebody on the phone. Hey, last name, 4 people, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's like, but our grandfathers and great grandfathers were, they were 18 years old, 16 years old, holding big ass weapons about to fight the Germans. It's like, where is the miss here?
Oh man, the greatest generation. They were
that's
tougher.
What they had a reason to be scared.
They were tough. I was just reading an article on that, and because there's only a handful, not many, still alive from that World War I greatest generation. And there was an article, I can't remember what news site it was on, but it was just talking about, and I was reading, it wasn't even talking about how great they were. It was just giving a timeline of when these guys lived and these gals, and you're like, dude, you went through the Depression. Like, they went through the roaring 20s. And so life was the greatest it's ever been. Then you go through the Great Depression, or so you start in World War I. Then you're going through the 20s. Then you're going through the Great Depression. And then you get into World War II. I'm like, oh my gosh, these were some of the toughest human beings. And they were equating it to basically that, our economy, our society was like the happiest, safest, like in everything was firing on all cylinders. There was just there was a patriotic love. There was just like this sense of community. And it was just going through this time period. I'm like, well, of course, because it was forged in hard work, right? It was forged in sacrifice. It was forged in a common knowledge that, what? We all have it crappy. Like in the Great Depression, everybody pretty much had it crappy, right? So you band together to pick your brothers up versus stepping on each other to try to get ahead. And I think, that generation had a better understanding of what the moral fiber of humanity is supposed to be. And again, you get it.
And we were governing ourselves.
Well, you get into this narcissistic, instant gratification, me world that we've been in for the last, couple of decades. And that's the output, right? Like you said. And then, you got people that can't talk. You got people that can't share feelings. You can't have open discussion, open dialogue, or, everything has to be a safe place. And it's like, well, guess what? The world's not safe, unfortunately. And you have to have tough conversations, and you have to learn to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And you have to miss them.
One of the places where I think is paramount to the success of a family and a culture, to me, is the dinner table, and like getting together. And one of the things that Hannah, you and I have talked about is your passion for cooking, and some of so just give me like, a fun family story of sitting at the Dasher family dinner table. I want to hear it.
We talk about this in my upcoming book that I may or may not have just revealed. Anyhow, but the importance of family time at the dinner table, literally. And in my day, you were, you showed up and you ate what was served, and you lived to tell about it. There wasn't a mama's making a beef roast and chicken fingers. No, you ate the damn beef roast, right? And I didn't like garden. My parents are good cooks. I don't have a thigh gap. Obviously, I can hold my own in the kitchen for a reason. But I hated garden peas growing up. I love them now. But I remember the night I had to sit at the way past my bedtime. I was still there. I could not leave that table until I finished those dang garden peas. Anyway, but in those requirements and in that family time, I was made to feel valued. My parents engaged in conversation with us. We were expected to engage with them. The TVs were in the other rooms. There was nothing to distract us. It was just that time together. And through all that, I gained respect for the one that prepared the meal and that put the roof over my head. And the effort that it takes, not just to make a meal, but to make a marriage work too. I saw my parents love on one another and love on us, and there's just so many valuable lessons in that time that I can't ever get it back. And I feel sorry for those who don't get to experience that.
Yeah, it's a true thing. That is paramount in our house. We have dinner together every single night. My wife, I'm married to a Italian woman, so we cook, we garden. That's another thing though. You mentioned the garden peas. My dad, my grandfather had a garden. My dad has a garden. We're big into gardening, right? Like we love gardening. Yes. Gardening, cooking. We cook all of our meals. I'm trying to be as self-sustained as I possibly can. Like one day I'm like, I'm never gonna have to go to the grocery store. It's gonna be freaking awesome. But that is, you're right. That's a lost thing. You'll have friends come over and their kids, like you said, I'm like, don't bring a dino nugget into my house. And then we'll have friends' parents ask us, well, your kids eat so well. It's like, because we took up those hard challenges, right? You sit there and you're like, you're going to keep getting it. You're going to keep getting it. Eventually you'll like it. Eventually you'll learn.
That saves so much money though. Like people don't understand. You can ball on a budget. For years I've lived on up here in Nashville. I've lived on $40 to $50 a week on groceries. Just because I keep a stock kitchen, and I make chicken stock out of carcasses, and I save the vegetables that I don't use and chop them and freeze them, etc. There's so many ways to be self-sufficient and to cook like a meemaw, you know what I mean, and to make good food.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is, I'm a big fan of that. Big fan of getting back to that.
But you're a gardener. I can't grow shit. I literally just killed 2 hydrangeas last weekend. You just got to keep trying. That's the best part of gardening. You really can't get it wrong. You know, sometimes you're going to have a better crop than others. We're like beyond organic gardeners, right? I use no chemicals at all. So, we're out there with nets and, you know, my wife's cayenne peppering the leaves so they keep the caterpillars off the tomatoes and stuff like that. Yes.
But, some years tomatoes will pop. Some years, we had a bunch of squash this year. So we became huge squash eaters this year.
Well, the weather's been terrible this year, which leads me to another conspiracy question. Gentlemen, do you think they've been manipulated?
I'm so glad you asked this. Yes. 100%. We talk about, so we have our summer place in Lake Tahoe, and we will be sitting up there, and it'll be a beautiful morning, not a cloud in the sky. And all these jets will be coming over, and all of a sudden there's these chemtrails coming back behind the jets. Within hours.
Tell us for those of us that are new to chemtrails, tell us what a chemtrail
basically like
looks
the exhaust, like what I'm calling a chemtrail is basically the exhaust trail behind a plane. And yes, there was a scientist from Germany who debunked the whole chemtrail thing, saying at like 40,000 feet, the condensation, drip off creates this crystallization of the water, blah, 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 these ice chills. But how come every plane doesn't do it? And then you can go to the other side where basically airplane engines are supposed to be sealed tight, so there is no condensation. So that's supposedly not a thing. I don't know. I'm not an aerospace engineer. I don't know these things. I just know that all of a sudden, then there's brakes, right? All of a sudden there'll be these chemtrails coming behind, or exhaust trails going out behind these planes, and they'll break and then they'll start up again. And there's this crisscross pattern. Next thing you know, in a few hours, we got clouds in the sky. And it's not the same day it was when we started. So I'm 100% on board with the chemtrails. I am 100% on board on cloud seeding, because they actually have a cloud seeding website. I think it's in California for sure. They have a cloud seeding schedule. And I think this was literally a military program back in the 50s. So why would we assume they stopped?
Yes, a girlfriend of mine, something in my spirit was really uneasy when the North Carolina flooding happened last year. Anyhow, and was it last year or earlier this year? Anyhow, but all that to say, I reached out to a girlfriend of mine who lived over there in that area, and she told me about cloud seeding. She said, I wouldn't believe in it if my daddy hadn't been involved in cloud seeding before Vietnam. Basically, up in the remote areas of New England, they tested cloud seeding to use as a weapon, basically, in Vietnam. And so I started to dig, and I started uncovering some things that made me suspicious of some other big flooding that's happened. And anyhow, that's basically all I'll say about that before they shut down my Instagram page. But
by the way, the North Carolina floods.
We're a new podcast. We don't have a lot of viewers, so we're good.
I love it. Go ahead. What were you saying, Fred?
The North Carolina floods 1 year ago exactly tomorrow. At the time of this recording.
Yeah.
Lord Jesus, help those people.
That was devastating. That was. It sucks when things hit places that they're just not equipped for, right? Like, that's the absolute worst.
So the devastation of North Carolina was so massive. We went to Asheville probably 6 months later. It's for the Southern Conference tournament for wrestling. And it was like just driving through there, they had just opened roads and just trees just decimated. 80-year-old oaks just split like straws, like all over the place. It was rough. But
was dynamite used at all on any of those dams? Did they ever find out if dynamite had been used or no?
I feel like after they had the big concert there. I know Trump was out there. I feel like it just kind of eventually disappeared, right? Like
within the California floods happened.
Well, we had the fires out there.
California fires happened, and that changed.
Don't use the T word. My phone doesn't like that. We have to call him Don John Quavius or something like that code name.
T word? What are you talking about?
The T word, the TRUMP. I'm picking at Jared. My phone doesn't. The algorithm doesn't like that word for some reason. So
Oh,
I'm making a joke, but I'm not.
A new conspiracy theory unfolded here.
We started with the Simpsons, and we got down like this. But see, that's why Conspiracy Corner is fun, because questions lead to questions. And again, hey, people, take this information, do what you want. Hannah's a journalist. Fred and I are not journalists.
No, honey, journalism requires the least amount of science as possible. So that's why. We throw out loose facts and opinions over here. And if it sparks a question, have fun with it. But not. Well, think for yourselves. Don't take our word for it. Just start doing some digging. And the best way for me to find out the facts is to go to the people. I don't believe what I'm being fed, whether it's from MSNBC or Fox. I don't believe them. I literally go to the people. I literally pick up the phone and I call somebody in that county because I happen to know somebody there. Anyway, and I just try to get the facts about what's really going on. And the consistency speaks for itself when you go fact checking, Well, it's funny. The people tend to know the pulse of their community, right? It's like, so again, you don't have kids, but at school, you want to know what's going on? Talk to the kids. Mm-hmm. The leadership at the school will tell you one thing for sure. Go talk to the kids. You know exactly what's going on. These, kids aren't dumb. It's the same thing in society, right? You want to know what's going on in your town? Go talk to the people. You want to know what's going on in the city? Talk to the population, because they're going to be the ones to tell you how it directly affects them. And everybody's got a different point of view on it. But that is a lost art.
My kids have a database of all the teachers who smoke, and they come home and and tell us as if I'm going to report them to the cops.
That's amazing.
Oh, that's
who smoke what, lefties or righties?
Yeah, well, or who's vaping? Like the art teacher is like a big vapor,
of course.
And they're like, yeah, she goes out in the parking lot during lunch and vapes. And
she thinks she's being all secretive.
Yeah,
the kid's right. All right,
they got a log on this
Johnson.
teacher.
You're a little baked right now. We get it.
If your kids are like, my dad gets people drunk for a living.
Yeah, right.
Nope. Tasters.
Yeah,
we are tasters. Yeah. Right, Fred? Yeah. We are not drinkers. We are tasters.
I leave the premises.
I have to hire a driver when I do Fred's podcast, so.
Yeah, this is a very different look of me for you, Hannah. I could kind of tell you're like, is that Fred?
I love it.
Who is that guy?
I think we've convinced him to stick with the blue blockers. He's going to stick with them even after the eye heals up. He's not going back to the normal ascot. We get switched to the blue blockers. Is where it's at now.
Yeah, I had surgery on both my eyes, and the good news is I'm not going to be blind, and I can see really, really well.
Praise God! I love that.
So what's new going on with you? I know you've got some cool things you're doing for veterans and just generally being awesome.
Yes. So how do I shorten that? So basically, earlier this year, I'm driving across town to a girlfriend's house, and I passed this church I've not seen in forever. A church building, it's beautiful. I've always admired it. To find that it's totally abandoned and it's starting the kudzus growing everywhere, and it really broke my heart. And I just lifted it up to the Lord at that moment. Went about my day. 2 days later, Richard Casper, who is over Creative Vets in Nashville, I was at I was having my meet and greet for CMA Fest. Anyhow, and he comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, I've got a project going," and he brings up this old church. He said, it's on my heart to buy this thing, but I'm trying to raise money for it. I'm like, "This church is the same one?" He goes, "Yes." And lo and behold, Amy Grant had the same moment on her heart. She literally pulls into the parking lot weeks before that, had pulled into the parking lot of this old abandoned church to pray for it, and was like, "God, I want to be a part of this. Use me somehow." So anyhow, Richard Casper, who's over our Creative Vets, is on this mission to raise $3.5 million. And after 6 months passed, he only had $500,000 raised. And he had one day to either come up with $3 million or to, forfeit $50,000 of his, deposit and extend this for 30 more days to try to come up with $3 million. And he does. Anyhow, so Gary Sinise, he ran into Gary the next week. Gary pledged $1 million in memory of his son, Mac, that passed. And the following week he meets 3 more people in 3 weeks that each give him $1 million. And so now we are purchasing this old church, and it is the Creative Vets Music and Arts Center. And the sanctuary will be a sanctuary. It'll be a music venue during the week, but it'll also be a house of worship on Sundays. and it's just a place where war vets can go, and there's lots of songwriter rooms. We were here in Nashville, so they can write songs, create music that's just very therapeutic for them, and their healing and processing. Anyhow, and wood shop. It's gonna be a wood shop there. They make stained glass. I mean, it's a 19,000 square foot facility, and so they've raised that 3.5 plus half of what the renovations are going to cost. But we're still trying to put up a little bit more for because there's some mold on some of the bones are good, but there's just it needs some attention. So, but
That's awesome.
I can include the link if people feel inspired to give.
Yeah,
absolutely. Please do.
We'll put that in the show notes.
Yeah, but isn't that cool how all that stuff is just? I mean, it's just there's so many cool.
Power of prayer. I'm telling you, power of prayer,
dude. The power of faith. I mean, he's like, I can't give up $50,000 because I need this to bring some vets to town. But he's like, he felt that urge to just trust, and when he trusted, dude. So that's going on, and then I'm going to Europe next month in October. So it'll be my first European tour with my band, if you will. I have a band over there, so we'll be in the UK and then in Sweden, and they love country music over there, so that's a lot of fun. And
So I want this. I have to be honest, Hannah. When Fred told me you were coming on, I hadn't heard of you in country music, right? And so the first thing I Googled, it was probably one of the greatest compliments I think someone can get, was they said you are basically the female version of Chris Stapleton. How throughout the people that know, like if you're in the community, if you're in the industry, you know who Hannah Dasher is, and that she's got one of the greatest voices. Great. I started listening to some music, and they're absolutely right. Songs are fantastic, so they'll be downloaded. So kudos to that. But I thought, what a cool thing, because Stapleton's story is obviously everybody knows is fantastic. But I thought that was a really cool.
He was Nashville's best kept secret for a while. I appreciate that.
Yeah, all it takes people to go check out your music for sure.
Well, that means a lot, Jared. I appreciate that very, very much. But again, we use our platforms to, at least I'm trying to try to bridge the divide, which is hard. Hell, I got a lot of flack for, making a Charlie Kirk post last week, but I couldn't stay silent. Something on my spirit was just like, you know what? You got to stand up for Jesus. Yeah. And so I just posted Ephesians 6:12, not in a way to beat down any side or anybody, just to be like, hey guys, at the end of the day, we're all brothers and sisters here. And this isn't a red or blue thing. This is a war between good and evil, and Jesus wins in the end. Whose side are you going to be on? Let's unite.
And I think the people that can't handle that, I mean, the Bible tells us it's not our job to change their hearts, right? It's our job to plant seeds. All we have to do is live out our faith, love people, and it's God's job to change those hearts and minds and stuff like that. So kudos for you for doing that. And we haven't really addressed or touched it on this show. I try not to go. I have my beliefs, but my beliefs are my beliefs. And if people ask me, I will be forthright with anybody. I will share the name of the Lord Jesus Christ with anybody who wants to hear it. But we don't force it down anybody's throat. That's for sure.
No, we don't.
But I tell you what, I think the coolest thing out of this entire tragedy that's happened in our country was, again, you take right and left out of it as a Christian, and I can speak as Christians, to see the word of God being spoken to 95,000 people in a stadium and millions around the world. I mean, the tragedy alone is a tragedy just because it's human being. It's a father that's lost. You don't have to agree with people, right? You don't have to agree with them to see the impact. As a conservative Christian, I didn't agree with everything that he said. But what I can tell you is at no point shooting somebody for having a disagreement, is okay, right? And especially from 200 yards away, right?
We can all agree on that, but I want to know
if you can't, then I really don't have it. If I can't, then you don't even fit the baseline of normal society, right? You know who came out and said that? She's a movie director. She did an interview the other day, actress and movie director, and she basically said, and I love this line when she said, she was like, "Can we just stop calling them? Like, can we get rid of the parties? Can we get rid of right and left, Republican, Democrat?" She was, "Can we just have insane and then people who aren't insane? Like, can we have common sense, rational people of anybody who has common sense and rational, and then like insane," right? She was like, she's like, anybody that's defending the murder of the girl, the Ukrainian girl on the on the train. Like that's just an insane murderer, right? You know what I mean? Like that's just a murderer. Like, can we just separate? Okay, murderers got to go. Sane people, let's have a common. Let's find our commonalities instead of looking at all of our differences. So, kudos for you for defending your faith. You shouldn't have to, and
well, kudos to you guys. I know Fred's a vet. Are you
I'm not a vet. So my family, my ties to the military come from my family. My whole family was military. My grandfather served 23 years in the United States Marine Corps. My brothers were in the Marine, my Air Guard, whole family's military. My dad played football, so I played football. And we have a foundation. We build homes for wounded vets all over the country and give them to them free and clear. So we've been doing that since 2009. That's another reason Fred and I are friends, based off his service and my love for the military. And at the end of the day, I think that's what makes our country the greatest, is we have a country where men and women volunteer to fight for the ideals. And the reality is it's not political based, right? It's an idea of freedom.
No, they're fighting for people that agree, for everybody.
They're fighting for everybody. They're fighting for that solid ideal of freedom, right? And I tell people all the time when we speak at our ceremony, it's not even freedom of speech, not freedom of religion, it's the freedom to dream, right? It's the freedom to want to be something better and greater. And that's what, young men and women who we don't even know sign up to defend those values and give their lives and lose, some lose their lives, some lose limbs. And, when they come home, there's a massive gap in adaptive housing. So, we try to fill that gap the best we can. But, I try to tell people, I don't care what you think about, your politics are. At the end of the day, those are human beings over there fighting for your right to sit back here, bitch, complain, and do whatever you want. So the least we can do as someone who has taken full blown advantage of the opportunities in this country to give back.
It's so hard getting, leaving the military too after you get out, and I remember.
How is it hard? What do you mean by that?
It's just. I basically, when I came home from Iraq in 2005, we had I was National Guard, so I was basically, a civilian within 2 weeks of being home, and you have a couple classes, and then you're back out into the world, and it was just strange to me, people find out I was in Iraq, and this was a very unpopular war, and they would just start talking to me about how President Bush was a war dictator, or whatever they would say, and then they would start talking about how we shouldn't be in the war, like, oh, we support the troops, but we don't support the war. And it would eat me up, and then just little things like that, and then seeing people with hair, which, Jared at the time was sporting as, classic mullet. It was a very strange thing for me to see all that hair after being around people with no hair. It was just different, and no discipline, and everyone just, complaining about all anyone would want to talk about then was Michael Jackson, Britney Spears, and I just was like, what about, Sergeant David Metz, who was killed? What about Sergeant, David Jopek, who was killed, or Ryan Jopek, who was killed? So I don't know. I was kind of eaten up like that. So any kind of caring, any kind of effort that's given to vets, I'm thankful for that. And Jared is a one of one kind of guy, man. He's a special dude.
I believe
appreciate that. For me, it's I hate to use the word obligation, right? But I always go back to much is given, much is expected, right?
Yes.
And it's just our job to take care of people. Go back to the humanity of things, right? Is if you got the means, if you got a platform, and I use my platform I always tell our partners, I'm like, yeah, it's not me. I just had an idea. It's the support of the community that really, and your partners, that allow it to happen. And kudos to you, Hannah, for looking at the spiritual side of what these vets need too, right? Because it is a hard transition. And I got the pleasure of being in Iraq in 2009 on a USO tour. And what struck me the most was the just the daily sacrifices you don't think about, right? Like there was a husband and wife that were on base together. And you're like, oh, that's got to be, at least that's got to make it easier, right? You can talk to like,
Right.
we're not like, we can't stay in the same building because one outranked the other, right? So there was all these, and they're right there with each other. So they're like, we can't even share that much information together. Or guys that, you hear stories, guys that were deployed for 13 months, were home for 3 and back in it, right? And I remember one guy's story was like, same thing. He was like, I just got used to being in the same room as my family, and they sent me back over. And it's not necessarily always trauma driven. It's structural driven, right? You go, like you said, Fred, like you have, I mean, every minute of every day, you're structured, plan out, and then you get back and they're like, all right, now go make your own decisions. And you got, remember, a lot of these kids are 22, mid 20s at earliest when they get back. And now you're telling them they have to go make all their own decisions from 18 to 24 or 18 to 22. They've been getting told what to do every minute of every day. And so I think that's another side that gets lost, is that there's this whole, not just the mental health issue, but there's a spiritual aspect, and there's a, like you said, of what can I do next, right? It's like a re-job training. And so, one of the ladies we built a house for right up here in Portland, Tennessee, she's a songwriter, and she's found great comfort in being able to put her emotions into words, right? And I think I know you're saving lives doing it. It's 100% saving lives. So thank you, and God
Not
bless
me,
you
but Richard. But yeah, I'm a big supporter of creative vets. Love those guys. But yeah, absolutely. I haven't fought in a war. I have no idea all that you guys go through, but I do revere and respect, whether I agree with the war or not. I respect the men that are fighting to keep me safe over here. So I think all sides can agree on that too. And I do appreciate you guys very much. And I miss the little children programs we used to do growing up. It seems like American Pride wasn't, like I caught so much flack for posting a video on TikTok a year or two ago of, it was a 4th of July post, and I had it was patriotic, and anyhow, and I don't remember, it was funny.
And
but anyway, I got a lot of flack for being patriotic. Yeah.
I'll say this, I think anyone who's in the public eye, has we love our fans. We appreciate them. We need them, frankly, to download the podcast and listen to the music. We need that, and in the stands cheering for us. But there's got to be like a separation there. Like, they don't control you. Like, you post what you want to post, what you believe in. And if you lose a couple thousand, you'll probably gain a couple thousand too. I would just say, be you. Don't have a. I'm
not conforming.
Yeah.
But we're fishing for men. You know what I mean? So you can't beat a fish over the head with a fishing pole. It takes pretty bait, and so I've just got to go to the bait shop every now and then and ask the Lord, what's the best way to kind of bridge this gap, Brian? What's the best way to catch this one? And I'm not going to catch all of them, obviously, at all. But I'm trying. The older I get, the more important I'm realizing it is to plant seeds of love.
Absolutely. Well, tell everyone how they can follow you, so they can see some of those seeds in real time.
Yes, the ones I haven't killed, like my hydrangeas. They can follow me on Instagram at Hannah Dasher, on TikTok at Hannah Damn Dasher, and Facebook Hannah Dasher, things like that. So yeah, YouTube. I've got a lot of videos up on YouTube now, so they can go to my YouTube channel at Hannah Dasher.
Let's do it.
And I will say, the music is fantastic.
Hey, Jared, you rock. You're in Portland. You're not far away, honey.
I was listening to those songs last night. I was like, okay. And as a girl dad, right, always trying to push good, strong female presences on my kids too. So keep being a good role model for them too.
December 14th. We'd love to see you. Love to have y'all. Heavens, I'm trying to hide this tequila bottle because I don't have any of my mixers or my Fred whiskey up here. But
you just assumed there was going to be booze.
Y'all come visit and come see. I got a jukebox over here from the 70s. It's looking cool down here.
Well, we've kept you long. I appreciate you coming on, Hannah. It's always a pleasure, and I'm glad that a new friendship was formed in Hannah.
Yes,
I love it.
Yeah,
pleasure meeting you.
Hey, bless y'all. Y'all behave.
Cheers.
Have a great one.
Thanks for having me. Bye.
That was our longest episode.
Yeah. We've got, we're still trucking. Let me wrap it up here. But yeah, it was long. Well, Hannah brings a lot, she brings a lot. But that's going to do it.
I like authentic people. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? And you can tell she has an authentic personality, authentic spirit, loves the Lord. And you know what? Unfortunately, she's caught some flack for that. And, but again, you're never going to please everybody. So just try to be halfway decent. And then, you know what? Like we like to do, just try to laugh about it. We like to make people laugh. At least I do.
Unless you get a screwworm and then go to the doctor.
Oh, back to the screw. You brought it full circle. Please, can we eradicate screwworms?
That's going to do it for this week's Fourth and Neat. Like, subscribe, tell a friend. And thank you so much for joining us. Be safe out there.